Thank you for joining me, and I'm welcoming myself back to YouTube. I've been away for a couple of years, so I am hoping to get this back going, doing some live streams, and maybe do it once a week, but we'll kind of see how that goes. And also, see if we can get this thing going so that way when I do my podcast, I am thinking about not just dropping the audios in the future, but also dropping the videos. Okay. So just wanted to check this out and see how this goes, and how many of you were on this platform, as opposed to Instagram and TikTok. All right. So it is a little bit before 5 again. So I'm just going to wait just a tad for a few more people to come in. Feel free. I got a bunch of questions already, so I'm going to start with those in just a minute while I wait for people to come on in. But if you have any questions, that's why we're here. It's Ask Me Anything. Any questions about homeschooling, whether you're just starting out, you're thinking about homeschooling, you're a veteran homeschooler, but you're having some issues right now, some troubleshooting. I just spoke with a client today. We were talking about that October feeling that we all get around this time of the year, where we were super excited in September to get this school year going. And we were excited about all the plans we had and the new classes we were taking and the new curriculum we were going to use. And then we get to October and we start to realize maybe I overscheduled a little bit too much, or this curriculum isn't quite working. So I had fun talking to that client today, having our little coffee date on Zoom. And so that's what I'm here for. So shoot me your questions. You can put it in the chat. There's a live chat going on, so feel free to post your questions in there if or when you have any. I'm assuming you have some because that's why you're here. And I will answer those as I get them. Okay. Also, I will be, obviously, I'm recording this. And so when we're all done, my hope is to save it and to put it on my YouTube channel underneath the live stream. I plan on doing another one at the end of October. That one's going to be specifically for high school. It's called the High School Huddle. So if you have high school questions tonight, go ahead, ask away. Okay. But if you are watching the recording of this and you have some specific high school questions, then make sure you join us again. I think it's the last Friday. Um, the last Friday of October. You'll have to check my YouTube. I already have it scheduled there. And we'll be going live, and I will be answering specific high school questions there. Okay. All right. So it is 2 minutes before 5 o'clock. So I am going to wait just one more minute just in case, because I did say 5 o'clock, came on early. Main reason is because I haven't done this in so long. I wanted to make sure I got on and I was doing things correctly. And as you could tell, my lighting is all off, so I'm going to have to fix that for the next time. But anyway, okay, so welcome to the Welcome Back Coffee with Carrie YouTube. Ask Me Anything. So I sent out an email to all of my email subscribers, and I put it on Instagram as well, saying that we were going to be going live today. And if you had any questions in particular you wanted me to answer for you or help you with, to send those to me in email or direct message, or like I said, you could put it in the chat. But several of you did send me some questions, so I'm going to start with those. All right. So the very first question is, I kind of started to talk about this. One of the moms, and like I said, I was speaking to a client today, but one of the moms sent in a question today, last week, about it's October and she's realizing that things aren't working. And she's not new, but more of like 2 or 3 years, I think, of homeschooling. But this can still happen to us seasoned homeschoolers when we've been homeschooling for a while. Sometimes we get very excited about the upcoming school year, and we tend to maybe overreach our plans. Okay. So her question was, what do I do? Because it's only October and she already feels like she's failing and she wants to give up and she's not quite sure She's kinda second guessing, and if she should ditch the curriculum. She didn't say which one. She didn't say if it was math or if it was language arts, but something about the curriculum. So first of all, uh, first thing to do is if this describes you, if you're having some second guessing at the beginning of this October, because maybe you did overschedule or you thought you could get a little bit more done than is actually getting done. First of all, first thing you need to do is take a step back. All right. So don't give up. Don't second guess yourself that you're doing things all wrong. Don't ditch the curriculum yet, whatever it is that you think is not going right. Take a step back, and not because today's Friday, but next week on Monday and Tuesday, do what you normally do, don't give up, but as you go through the day, journal, what is going on, what you're doing, okay? So this is mainly for you as well as for the kids. So journal what time you get up, journal how you feel when you wake up, journal if you have breakfast or your coffee or whatever, journal what the kids are doing when they start to come on out of their rooms. What are their moods like? How much sleep did they get the night before? What did the weekend look like? If when there's some snack time and some meal times, make note of when that is, and what are the moods like before and what are the moods like after people eat and have their snacks. If there's some meltdowns, whether it's you or your kids, journal what was happening beforehand, what was brought up that you feel like started the meltdown. Maybe you mentioned it's time to do math and someone started rolling around on the floor. So just keep track during the day of what you're doing, what your kids are doing, the emotions people are having, how people are reacting, just things like that. Do that for 2 or 3 days. And then hopefully that will help you see some sort of patterns. Maybe it has absolutely nothing to do with the curriculum. Okay. Maybe it has to do with the fact that one particular kid needs to sleep a little longer. Maybe there's some hormones happening and he or she needs the extra sleep and she's not getting it. And so therefore she's already waking up cranky. Maybe it is your younger one and she's feeling like she's not getting enough attention, and because you guys just like get right into it, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute too. So it may not even be a particular subject or a particular skill or curriculum. It could just be some emotions, some conflict that might be happening that you can easily just step back. You could pray about it, talk with your kids about it, talk with your husband about it, see if you can figure out the root of the issue so that you can maybe address that, and then things will get back to normal. Okay. Now, if everyone is feeling like crazy and it's chaotic, it could be because during the summer, or if you're one of those moms that start planning for the next year back last March, you were so excited about this year that you bought all this new curriculum that your friend said was fabulous. And this new co op was started, and you wanted to be in all the fun classes that you thought your kids would want to do. Um, Maybe there's some really cool opportunities for your older one to maybe work or do some stuff. And you just got so excited about all these new opportunities and all these new things that you were going to try out. And you started the year off, and you're now seeing that you just don't have enough time in the day for all of those things, or enough energy in the day, or maybe the class that your youngest was super excited about, they're not as excited about it anymore, but you already paid for it, so you feel like you have to keep pushing them to do it, right? So when you step back and after your journal for a couple of days about what's going on and what you're noticing, also make note of how much time is being spent on these different activities, whether they're inside the home or outside the home, how much time it's taking to do the different curriculums, especially if they're new ones that you've never done before, right? And start to see if maybe things aren't going quite the way you thought they would, because maybe the curriculum is too hard for your student. Maybe it's too easy. That's always an issue too. And so they're bored. And so their behavior is showing, manifesting in a different way. Okay. Maybe the curriculum is great for maybe your older student, but it's not really working for maybe your middle child, right? So maybe the curriculum is great, but it's not teaching to their learning style. Okay. Or maybe what you did was you got like three different curriculums in math for your three different kids, and you're going crazy because one is the good and beautiful, one is teaching textbooks, and one is Saxon. And you, as the teacher, have to switch gears because each of those curriculums are very different, right? So before you throw out any curriculum and deem it as it's not working, um, take a break from it. All right. So before you ditch it, just take a break. Let's just assume it's math. All right. Because, like I said, the lady who sent in the question, she didn't tell me which curriculum they were having issues with. But let's just say it's math. Take a break from doing the math curriculum for about a week. All right. And in that time, you can either take a complete break from math, or you can spend the week just playing some really fun math games that review skills your student already knows, right? That will help build up their confidence as well. It'll help review things, different skills that they probably need reviewing with anyway. Okay. And then go back to it. Okay. And then see if things are okay. Maybe they just needed a break. All right. Now, when you go back to it, if they're still having issues, again, before you throw it away and assume it's not the right curriculum, or it's too hard, or it's too easy, switch it up a little bit. Okay. And what I mean by that, do a little mix match. And so maybe on Mondays, you do a lesson from your curriculum. Okay. Don't do all the problems though. Just do like the odd problems. Okay. Then the next day, instead of doing a page from your curriculum, do some math games. All right. That's your math lesson for the day. Then on Wednesday, do a page from your curriculum. Then on Thursday, maybe read a couple of really fun math picture books, right? About the topic that they're learning. Maybe they're having trouble with fractions, and there's tons of fraction picture books out there. And then on Friday, go back and do a page or a lesson from your curriculum, right? And so before you throw away the baby with the bathwater, mix it up a little bit so that they're not doing the math workbook or the curriculum every single day. It's being broken up with other ways to do math, whether it's through games, through cooking, through reading a literature book or a picture book or something like that. Okay. So try mixing it up a little bit. That will also help you see maybe the concept is too hard and they just don't get fractions no matter how you do it. Okay. Whether it's through games or it's through cooking or whatever. Okay. Or you might realize that, oh, they really are very hands on and they really need more interaction with me instead of this independent work. So maybe teaching textbooks isn't working because it pretty much is very independent and they do better when they work with me. Okay, so in that case, you might want to start thinking about, again, before you throw away the curriculum, because you spent a lot of money on it, see if you can amend the way they do the math lesson for the day. So if they do want you with them or they need you with them, then you teach them the lesson and then they do the practice on the teaching textbooks or in the DVD or whatever. Okay. If all of that fails and you are still having issues or your kid is still having issues with that particular curriculum, um, then maybe by Christmas time, right? Because, if you try out all these different things, that'll be like a month, month and a half. Then maybe by Christmas time, take a break from everything, right? Take a nice little Christmas break. And then that gives you time to research maybe some other math curriculums you can now use instead. Or maybe it was too hard. So maybe you just need to go down a grade level. Maybe it's too easy. So you just need to go up a grade level. But don't ditch it just yet. Okay. So it might be some of that. Now, also, this is also October. So, like I said earlier, this is the time of the year that a lot of us kind of start regretting all of the overscheduling we did. And because of that, we start to second guess everything. So we start to second guess that we're doing this wrong. We shouldn't be homeschooling. Not only is the curriculum wrong, but everything I'm doing is wrong. And that's not the case. All right. It's a typical mid-October kind of feeling. So another suggestion is that if you can go to some sort of uh, homeschooling conference this month, that would be very helpful too. So it just so happens if you happen to live in California, Bloom and Blossom is having a conference this next coming weekend in San Diego. So if you kind of can get to that, I would suggest you go to that. You could use my code COFFEE, COFFEE, and you could get a couple of bucks off of the registration. I also know that there's a another one in Redding the following weekend in Northern California. So just look around. If you don't live in California and you live in a different state, then look and see if there's something going on, even if it's an online kind of conference or convention that you could just be a part of for a day or a couple of days to just help soothe your fears and calm you down. It's a perfect time of the year to do that. So again, I'm going to be at the Bloom and Blossom conference next Friday and Saturday in San Diego. So if you're interested in going to that, make sure you look that up. It's called, it's underneath Christina Carpenter, but you can go to my website, coffeewithcarrie.org. You'll be able to find it. You could do it there. Okay. All right. Another question. Those of you who are coming in, if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat and I will make sure that I get to them. So the second question that someone sent in to me last week was, I'm homeschooling with a toddler and nothing's getting done. What do I do? Okay. Great question. If you've been homeschooling and you have multiple kids, you know that when you're trying to homeschool with a toddler and an active preschooler, it's going to be different. Okay. So, first of all, is just remember this is a season. This is just a season. This is not how your homeschooling is going to be for the rest of the next 12 to 18 years. This is just a season. Your toddler will grow, your preschooler will mature, and this too will be in the past and it won't be so crazy and hectic. Okay. So it is a season. It's not going to last. Now, what do you do when you're in it to help you get through it? All right. So, first of all, you don't want to lower your expectations. You want to make your expectations more realistic. Okay. So, that's the first thing. So, just know when you have a toddler in the mix, you are not going to get as much done with your older students, one-on-one at least. They may not get as much done because the toddler is constantly trying to get their attention. And you're probably not going to get as much done housework and things like that because you have a toddler. All right. So don't lower your expectations, just make them more realistic and pick out things that you feel absolutely have to be done school wise each day and things that absolutely have to be done housework wise each day or each week. And that's what you focus on. And when everything else doesn't get done, you just breathe, you smile, and you remind yourself that your toddler will only be this cute and little for a while. And this too is going to be a memory. So it's just for a season. Second thing to do is oftentimes the toddler is in everybody's business when you get down to schoolwork because really all they want is your attention. That's what they're trying to get. So I often found that if you give your toddler or your preschooler your undivided attention first thing in the morning or before you get to the school stuff where you're working with the olders, that that goes a long way. Okay. So if the toddler has you and he's on your lap and you're reading and you're playing or whatever it is that your toddler loves to do with you, and he has your undivided attention for a good like 30 minutes, that is going to fill his cup for quite a while. He's going to be happy for a while. Okay. So try and do that first. Give him undivided attention before you move into the rest of your day and your school stuff. Okay. Then the second thing is what I used to call tot school. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't make my toddlers do any schoolwork. But what I did was I had different bins. So I had like 12 different bins that I got from the dollar store. And in each bin, I put different things in it that I knew my toddler or my preschooler absolutely loved to play with and could keep his attention for a good 10 to 20 minutes. If it was 30 minutes, that was great, but let's be honest. Okay. And so like one box might have special magnetic tiles. Another box was full of stickers because my little guy loved stickers. Another box was full of slime, but special slime. Okay. Another box was full of some really fun, what do you call it? Like noise things. Okay. So I had 12 different ones and each box was full with something different that I knew he absolutely loved and would keep him occupied for a little while. And I put them in the closet on the shelf. They only came out when I was doing quote unquote schoolwork or one-on-one time with the older. Okay. And so, but I wouldn't pull out all 12. So on Monday morning, I would pull out maybe one or two of those tot boxes and I put that out. He knew, okay, this is time. I get to play. This is my one time I get to play with this special toy. And it gave me time to work with one-on-one with the older. Then at the end of the day, I put that box away. And then on the next morning, I pulled out one or two different boxes. Okay. So the reason why I had 12 was I could pretty much get through a whole week, sometimes a week and a half, before the original box of toys or entertainment came out. So it was almost like Christmas every other week. Right. And so, but if you keep it fresh that way, then they get excited when those different boxes come out and they know that the only time that they get to play with those stickers or those magnetic blocks or whatever is when you are doing something with Sissy or the older ones. Okay. So that's another thing that you could do to kind of help your toddler stay occupied. Again, keep your expectations realistic. Will these tot bins keep them occupied for 2, 3 hours? No, but it'll give you some time. So now you're getting more things done than you were before. Okay. So if you give them undivided attention, that's going to buy you at least 30 minutes, right? And then with the boxes, if you take out two boxes, let's just say 20 minutes each. So that's another 40 minutes, right? Right. And then if your toddler is with you guys when you do morning time, then, he might sit still a little bit or not be too noisy during read aloud. If you do Bible study while it's breakfast time and his hands are busy and his mouth is full, you could get through Bible time with very few interruptions. So, using these different things, you might actually get like 2 hours that you weren't getting before. Okay. So try that. Also, I'm assuming you have older kids. And so, if need be, start getting your older kids involved too. All right. So if you need some one on one time with, let's say, your middle one to do math because he's really struggling, then every day your older student or your older child knows that for 10 or 15 minutes when you're working with, her middle brother, she's going to be reading picture books or she's going to be outside playing with the toddler, right? And then when you need to work with your older student and maybe proofread her essays or something, then your middle child knows that for 10 or 15 minutes, he's responsible for a snack for your toddler. Maybe it's snack time for them or they're outside or whatever. Okay. So again, 10, 15 minutes doesn't sound like much, but it's more than what you were getting before. Okay. And when you accumulate all of these different 10, 15, 20 minutes, you're actually getting quite a bit done. Okay. Now, if you have a really, really overactive toddler, and no matter what you do, it's just not working, then don't be prideful, just ask for help. So maybe you could hire a homeschool teenager to come over once a week, just for an hour or so, to hang out with your toddler while you try and get some other stuff done, right? One thing that I did was my mother in law took my son once a week to Bible study with her. So every Wednesday morning, I knew I had concentrated time with my daughter because my son was with my mother in law. Okay. So if you need to, then just maybe think about asking help by a friend or an older, responsible homeschool teenager who could help once a week, or ask your mother in law or your mother to help, something along those lines. Okay. So hopefully that answered that mom's question about what they could do when they're homeschooling with a toddler. But remember, the key is to keep in mind this is just for a season and enjoy it as long as you possibly can, because before you know it, they're going to be grown and not cute and active like this. Okay. All right. The third question, another question that someone sent in was they can't seem to get into a rhythm. All right. So they're new at homeschooling, it sounds like, and this is their first year, and they're having trouble figuring out what to do each day. And they're having trouble getting to all the things that the mom wants to get to. Okay. So, first of all, I'm going to say it again, don't lower your expectations, but make them more realistic. Okay. So she didn't tell me how many kids they have, um, what subjects they're working on, what grade levels they're in. So I'm just going to make this very not genetic, generic, right? And just assume it's more than one kid and they're just trying to get all of their things done. All right. So, first of all, if this is you, if you're having trouble finding a rhythm and you're new at this, maybe it's your first year, your second year, maybe your third year, and you still haven't figured out your rhythm, is stop and think about what's going well. Okay. So, during the week, what are the one or two things that do happen in your homeschooling that you love? You love that it's going this well. Okay. And try and figure out why. Why is this going so well? Is it because you're being consistent with it? Is it because maybe it's read aloud and everybody's loving the book that you're reading? Maybe it's because everybody is in happy moods at 10 o'clock, and that's why a lot of good stuff is happening at 10 o'clock. Okay. So think about and journal what's going well and see if you can figure out why. Okay. I love the process of asking five whys, right? So ask yourself, why is this going well? And then when you give yourself an answer, you ask, well, why is that? And then you try and answer that. Eventually, after you answer and ask five whys, you get down to the nitty gritty. Okay. Then be honest and ask yourself what's not going well. Right. So obviously, what do you feel like is chaotic or not going the way you thought it was going to go? Okay. Again, don't be hard on yourself. So don't sit here and list 5,000 different things. Just pick out one or two things that you really feel like are not going well at all and start asking the question why. Maybe it's because you're not being consistent, or maybe it's because you're doing read aloud, but the book you're reading is way too advanced, or it's not interesting to the kids, or maybe you're expecting the kids to sit still and they're not mature enough to do that just yet, right? So ask yourself why you think these things aren't going well. Um, and then ask yourself, what did you want to do um, that is not happening, right? So it's now October. So we already had, like I said, these great ideas and plans and dreams of how this year was going to be great and different. So, what is it that you wanted to do that you haven't got to yet, right? And try and figure out why you haven't got to it yet. And maybe because it's not realistic. Maybe your kids just aren't mature enough for it yet. Maybe you just don't have the time in the day for this particular activity that you thought everyone was going to love. Okay. Or maybe the class you thought 30-minute drive wasn't going to be that big of a deal, but it is. Okay. So, kind of think about those kinds of things. And then once you kind of evaluate what's going well, what's not going well at all, what you wanted to do, but it's not happening, and you've kind of figured out why it's not happening. Then think about your daily rhythm or your each day more in time blocks than a strict time schedule, right? And so you're not in school, so you don't have to worry about bells. You don't have to worry about in 20 minutes we need to move on to this, and 50 minutes we need to move on to that. That's just going to stress everybody out. Okay. So look at your mornings or your days in time blocks. So look at it as you've got your morning time. You could call it whatever you want. You could call it your family time, your morning time, circle time, whatever. That's going to be the time of the day that you and the entire family come together, that you learn whatever it is you want to learn as much as you can learn together as a family. All right, so maybe that's your Bible time, that's your read aloud time, that's your maybe you do poetry together, maybe that's your memory work because you do classical stuff, whatever. Okay, so that's your morning time. That's where everybody's together, depending on what you're doing and how old your kids are. An hour, maybe an hour and a half. Kind of depends on what you're doing. Okay. And then another time block would be what we used to call table time, but that's like the independent work where the kids go off and they're actually doing some of their work independently on their own at their own level. So maybe they're doing their math. Maybe they're working with you with their learning how to read. Maybe they're working on their musical instruments or something. Okay. So that's another time block. Then another big time block will be the free time. So the time in your day where the kids have breaks and then extended breaks where they could pretty much do what they want to do. They can explore outside, they can read for fun if they want, they could do arts and crafts, whatever that they choose to do when they have free time. Okay. Um, and then, of course, once you kind of have these blocks of time, add in your meal times. So, when is breakfast going to happen? Or does it even happen in your home? Maybe your family doesn't do breakfast. When is lunch going to happen? When is dinner going to happen? Are there times in the day where you absolutely need to have some snack breaks because people are getting hangry, right? Okay. So look at your day more that way. And then, of course, at the end of the day, again, is your family time, but that's not school related. That's more hanging out with dad, bedtime rituals, read aloud maybe before you go to bed, that kind of stuff. Okay. So if you look at your day more in time blocks, and do what I said earlier, where you're journaling for a couple of days, just everyone's natural rhythm, what's happening when people wake up, their moods, when people are ready to do schoolwork, when their brains are fried. It will help you figure out your family's rhythm. And then instead of going against the grain and trying to make everybody fit into this time schedule you wanted to do, you lean into your family's natural rhythm once you figure it out, and then everything will fall into place. Okay. All right. And then the last question that came in, I thought was a really fun one. A mom wanted to know if I had any homeschooling book recommendations. Oh my gosh, there are so many homeschooling books out there. And I think that's why she asked, because our time is very limited. And unless you listen to Audible, it can be a little difficult to get through a lot of books when you're in the midst of homeschooling and being a mom. Okay. Tons and tons of great homeschooling books out there. I love the oldie but goodies. I love the new classics that are out there. I actually did a whole Coffee with Carrie homeschool podcast episode on book recommendations. And the episode is called Take a Coffee Break Book Recommendations. And what I do is I asked my listeners a couple of years ago for them to send in to me their favorite coffee order, and what I did was I matched people's coffee orders, like a mocha latte, with a particular homeschooling book. All right. So it's kind of fun. So I do a lot of coffee trivia, but I also match the kind of coffee order with the flavor of different homeschooling books. So if you go listen to that episode, it's called Take a Coffee Break. I think I recommend like 12 different homeschooling books, like I said, from the classics, like written by Dr. and Raymond Moore, to Sally Clarkson, those kind of classics, to the new classics like Wild and Free and Teaching from Rest and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Lots of great stuff there. If you like to watch things instead, then stay on YouTube and go check out my playlist. It's called Homeschool Books. And so what I did was I did the same thing. I matched coffee orders to the homeschool book recommendations, but I show you the book and I talk about the book and you get to see it. Okay. So for my visual learners, go check out that on YouTube. However, I wanted to share with you some of my favorites that I've read in the past year that will not be in that episode because they've come out just recently. So far, my favorite new homeschooling book right now is written by Amber O'Neill Johnson. I love it. It's called Homegrown. And what it is, it's this fabulous, almost like an anthology where she got different homeschooling parents to write in their experience of what their homeschooling looks like, what their home education looks like, what a homeschool day looks like, what it's like to homeschool through grief, what it's like to homeschool with special needs. I mean, she's got it all, right? But it's not just Amber who writes it. It's different, quote unquote, like essays written by other homeschooling moms. Some of them you will recognize, like Greta Estridge, Sally Clarkson, Jenny Urich, those names, but also other just common homeschooling moms like us. Okay. So that's a really good one. It just came out, I think, a couple of months ago. It's called Homegrown. You got to read it because you will relate to many of the people in it because they are homeschooling moms like you and me who are sharing their experience. Another one of my favorites that has come out in the past year and a half is called The Joy of Slow by Leslie Martino. Love this one because You know me. I'm all about just breathing and simplifying stuff. And this book is talking about the joy of taking things. I'm not going to say, she doesn't mean slow as in you don't do much. It's taking things in such a way that you have time to enjoy them. Okay. But it's all about homeschooling. And when you do things at a quote unquote slower pace, how do you evaluate that kind of stuff? How do you plan for that kind of stuff? What does that look like, right? Love, love, love the book. It's called Joy of Slow. And if you're interested in listening to Leslie do a better job of explaining the book, I did an interview with her as well at Coffee with Carrie Homeschool podcast. And it's called The Joy of Slow, a conversation with Leslie Martino. So make sure you check that out and then make sure you go read her book. Okay. And on that note, here's a shameless plug. I'm coming out with a new book. It doesn't have a working title just yet, but it's all about how to homeschool simply, yes, but it's about how to answer that question, am I doing enough? And how to have a balanced homeschool day and to be confident in what you're doing is enough and you're doing it well. Okay. That's the gist of the book. Like I said, I don't have a title for it just yet, but that's going to be coming out in 2026. So sometime next year. Right now, it's in the final editing phase, working on, like I said, coming up with the title for it, working on the cover for it, and all that kind of stuff. So be on the lookout for that. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you do that so you're notified of the next live that we're going to be doing, but also so that you can be notified if you want to be a part of the book launch team, or if you want an advanced copy of it, or if you want to write a review for it, any and all of that, I would very much appreciate it. Okay, so make sure you hit the subscribe button for YouTube and go on over to coffeewithcarrie.org to do that as well. Okay, so those were all of the questions that came in. It looks like there weren't any questions in the live chat. So I'm going to bid adieu. We went a little bit over our half hour, but thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me. And we'll see you next time where we're going to be talking all about high school. All right, see you guys soon.